Today, I'm going to walk you guys through my process on how I design the perfect landscape. Stick around to the end of this video to figure out my #1 tip on how to be a successful landscape designer. So every project we do starts with an initial contact, whether it be from our website, seeing us up and down the street, maybe somebody knows somebody, or a big thing for us is a home and garden show. That's where we actually met this customer right here, was at a home and garden show. When people first reach out, 90% of the time, they'll say they want one thing, but they really have no clue what they want. They're like, oh, I need my shrubs trimmed, or I need a patio, or this or that, but what they really need is a whole outdoor space drawn up, and it's up to you to ask those questions to the customer to figure out what they really want. Like, my biggest mistake when I first started was giving the customer exactly what they asked for, and that just ended up like me getting ghosted in the design phase. They said, I want this, this, and that, and their design was just left to what exactly they said. And it's like I wasn't even professional, though. I was just giving them what they wanted, assuming that's what they needed, and it wasn't. Questions I asked to kind of get around that are, how long have you been in the house? What are some things that you want to see in your landscape? And what are some plants you like? Being in it 3 years now, I'll show them like some of the past projects I've done and kind of get a feel for the concepts that they're going for and blend all those together into the perfect backyard for them. When I first come up to a customer's home, before even talking to them, I'm kind of assessing the neighborhood, seeing what fits, what's nice. People in here are going to go around for a walk and look at all the houses. So I'm kind of thinking in the back of my mind, what can I do here that would one up everybody in the neighborhood? Because each opportunity you get to do a job is an opportunity, it's a piece of your portfolio. So if you can be that one standout project in the neighborhood, you're automatically going to get more business. Once I got that stuff in the back of my mind on what I would do, I start talking to the customer. We get out, we walk their property. One of the big things I pay attention to is what paths they're taking from the front yard to the backyard. Like, what's the common traffic? Because I want to design around that and make it feel, when they see the rendering, make it feel like it's already there, because they walk it the same way that it shows on their rendering. So I'm just watching where they walk. I'm really looking out for the functionality, the drainage, the grading. Those are two major things. Water flow. Water will ruin, like, water is the #1 thing that will ruin inside a home or outside of a home. So just want to make sure I could design around that functionality too. I'll go through a checklist, a lot of questions I do have. I ask them plant types, concepts, things I touched on before, and we go from there. A really big important thing, and it's common sense, but just make sure you take really good measurements. Look out for where the spigots are placed on the home. I would like to put windows on some of my houses. Even if it's a 2D rendering, I'll just put where the windows are so the client can see, like, key access points, key viewpoints. A lot of people work from home, so they want to be able to look out a window, check the plants you put there, and make sure they're not blocking the view. There's been a few times where I did not put a spigot on a design or a hose reel on a design, and it's the first thing the customer points out. I'm like, my goodness, like, I just took 10 hours to draw this up, and you're going to tell me I didn't put a hose reel on it. But, you know, if people are investing a lot of money, they're going to look at the details, and those things matter. So now we've met with the client, we've got a base map, we know what they like. We head on back to the office now and show you guys our softwares and how we draw this up. Okay, so what I've got pulled up right now is a rendering, just a 2D rendering the crew is going to get when they go to the project and start. You'll see this is the site we were just at. So they've got like this walkway around this water feature. They got a walkway over to what's going to be an angel. You know, I've got some of this like orange stuff right here. It just kind of says like what's where. Client's got a few things on site. You got some walls and a lot of plants. Client was heavily involved in this design. They had a lot of say in where stuff was going to go. So they really wanted this angel. They really wanted this water feature. They really wanted outcropping walls in these specific spots. So this is just, you know, an overview of what a 2D rendering looks like with UVision. Here in the Midwest, one of our biggest paver suppliers, manufacturers, is Unilock, and they have a software called UVision. What I like about that is, since I use Unilock product a lot, they've got their pavers and their walls in their software already scaled to size. Once you scale the house up, everything else is going to be scaled from the paver and wall perspective. It makes things look realistic, especially with the 2023 version. Like, the house looks so real, the landscape looks so real, but not to the point where it's overpowering and overpromising. That's one big thing when you design something up, is if you give a client something that looks so like out of this world amazing, it's it can be hard to deliver on it if you make their house look better than it does or the landscape looks better than it does. So you kind of want to ride that line, give them a really good looking product, but don't overpromise. And I feel like UVision is a really good intermediate software where you can sell projects, depending on your market here in Michigan, you could sell projects like $250,000, $350,000, probably $500,000 projects with UVision. You might be able to sell $1 million project with UVision. I'm not sure, I haven't done that yet, but it's done well for us. It's a great software for us. Once you've got the design where you want it, since you've already measured the house and everything's scaled out in the design off the house and the lot, UVision, you can click on like certain areas and you can measure certain distances so that you can go ahead and calculate your product. Like your wall, you measure your distance and you already pulled your height on site. Your patio, you can just see the area because it's already scaled and calculate your pavers. We like to do everything Google Sheets, so I just put all of our labor, all of our materials, all of our deliveries in Google Sheets, come out to a number on our standard template, and then I go ahead, put it in Jobber, type out a standard contract, and then I tailor it to the job and ready to present to the client at that point. To give you guys an idea on what the 3D capability of the software is, here's a few pictures right here. We got an outdoor kitchen, we got a retaining wall, just a few more just to kind of give you an idea. So after the project has been sold, it's your job to make sure that this is going to look as close to the design as possible, because the design is what you're promising the client, and how you get there and how you manage how you get there will affect the actual outcome. For example, on this property, we've got a few moving parts, actually a lot of moving parts in a short timeline. There's about 8 guys here right now, and we're going to be here for 5 days. So I just want to make sure every single day that they know what they're doing and that they don't have to backtrack on any of their work. For example, we got a electrical conduit going in. We're going to set that up so our electrician, when this is done, can come in here, snake the wire to an outlet so that the water feature can start working. So we just want to make sure that stuff is 18 inches below ground, going to where it needs to go, and that everybody knows that, because we're also building deck stairs coming down, and we don't need them to hit that conduit when they're putting a footing in. We're putting landscape lights in here, and we're putting drip irrigation in here as well. So it's just a matter of keeping in touch with your foreman, being there early in the morning or taking a phone call early in the morning just to make sure that they know what's going on. Because those uncomfortable phone calls are when they call and they say, hey, I didn't know there was lighting here. I already put all the mulch in. And so now we got to take twice as long to put lights in. Stuff like that is, just got to be on top of the ball. Having a little bit or a decent amount of experience in the landscape industry is really important when it comes to selling projects. I got about 7 years of mowing, 5 years of landscaping experience, and this is my 3rd year as a designer. So when you present a project to a customer, they're going to ask you a lot of questions about, does this plant do well here? What do you think about the changes in elevation? How is that retaining wall built? So having done it quite a few times with your hands is going to allow you to come off as confident and establish that confidence into the customer. So landscape experience is definitely a big plus if you're going to do well in this career path. My biggest tip I've learned so far is that you got to figure out what the client wants, because they're not going to tell you what they want, and that's only going to come by doing it and failing. A lot of times they'll just say, hey, I want this and this plant, and I want a patio that's square. And so then in years 1 and 2 for me, I just drew up exactly what they wanted, and the variance from what they wanted was 0. Like there was no suggestions like you should have this because this, or you should change the shape of the patio because of how I saw you guys walk around and how many people you're going to be hosting. I would just give them exactly what they wanted, and a lot of times in presenting, like the client wasn't very excited or happy because they hired you to do a job. They hired you to come in and tell them what they needed, and I just didn't do that in the beginning. So now times I just show them my portfolio and get a read on the concepts that they like, and still ask them what they want and take that into account, but what the design is going to hold is probably like 15% of what they asked for, and 85% suggestions, or we could do this here, or we could change this here. We do a revision so we nail it down, but you kind of have to come in as an expert, the confidence of an expert, and show them what they need, and that's what the clients really appreciate. A topic that you absolutely have to get comfortable talking about is budget. I know it's not the most comfortable thing for a lot of people, but you have to get comfortable talking about it. You don't want to get all of the client's information on their design that they want and then go and draw something that's going to cost twice their budget. So you have to talk about it. It's normal. It's a normal thing. Hey, one thing we should talk about is budget. what you're describing, I could draw something that's going to cost 100 grand. I could draw something that's going to cost 50 grand. Is there a number you want me to that's usually how I frame it, and it works well, you know. It's uncomfortable for me and the client sometimes, but what's more uncomfortable is me drawing the whole thing up and then wondering the whole time if the client's going to approve it and if I'm going to have to start over, you know, because this stuff takes a while. It'll take you 10 hours to do a good design. Thanks for following along. Hope you guys learned something in this video. If you want to see more or go in depth on some of the design processes, drop a comment and we'll be happy to make a video for you.